What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Shanti Das, the host of the Mibo Show. And today, oh my God, today, it's all about ladies first. I am so excited about this episode. We're going to be talking about hip hop and women's health. And as you know, all season on the Mibo Show, we've been talking to iconic hip hop artists about the intersection of health and hip hop and how music, culture, and hip hop can have a positive effect on health and wellness in our community and really ensure that hip hop is around for what? Another 50 years. So this is our first show that we have with all women. And so again, it just warms my heart, right? Because I'm all about women's empowerment and ladies and queens uplifting one another. So to say I'm excited is an understatement, but I'm going to keep it together, right? And stay professional. But I do want to take a quick look back at the history of women in hip hop, right? As mentioned by Google and ABC News, hip hop popularized in the 1970s. MC Shyrock, otherwise known as the mother of the mic, emerged as the first female MC, later signing on to Sugar Hill Records herself. Another important moment that took place in 1980 when Sylvia Robinson, the founder of CEO Sugar Hill Records, released Rapper's Delight happened, and it was the first hip hop song to achieve commercial success and the first to chart on the Billboard Top 40, which was a big deal because right, we know men were really dominating hip hop at that time. So as hip hop made its mark in mainstream culture in the 1980s, women had to battle for the recognition in that male dominated industry. But battle they did, and it ushered in a wave of super talented women that will make an indelible mark on the culture for years to come. So today, as I mentioned, I am super excited about this episode as it features two of my sheroes and friends in the genre that have paved the way for many others after them. First up, we have the amazing MC Lyte. She is an American rapper, DJ, voiceover queen at extraordinaire, and entrepreneur and philanthropist. She's also considered one of the pioneers of female rap. MC Lyte first gained fame in the late 1980s, becoming the first solo female rapper to release a full album with 1988's critically acclaimed album called Light as a Rock. Next up, we have the amazing Yo-Yo, an American rapper and actress. Much of Yo-Yo's music advocates for female empowerment. She is the protege of rapper Ice Cube, and she has been active in advocating for hip hop artists to become involved within their community and founded the Yo-Yo School of Hip Hop to use hip hop in curriculum for at-risk students. She is a friend and someone that I love and absolutely look up to. Let's welcome Yo-Yo and MC Lyte to the show. And the crowd goes wild. Thank y'all for being here so much. And last but not least, we have the amazing Vanessa Broadhurst, which Vanessa is now a friend to the Mevo Show. This is her third time being on the show. She is the Executive Vice President of Global Corporate Affairs at Johnson & Johnson, and she's also received numerous recognitions in her role in the healthcare industry, including being named to Savoy's Magazine's 2022 Most Influential Black Executives in Corporate America, also being recognized as Healthcare Champion of the Year by the National Association for Female Executives, and lastly, being honored as one of the top Blacks in healthcare by blackdoctors.org. Let's give it up for Vanessa Broadhurst.
Woo!
Thank you for being here, ladies.
Thank you.
Great to be
I
here.
know you both have been doing a lot of performances around Hip Hop 50. So again, we're just grateful to have you here. We know your time is valuable as well, Vanessa. So we're going to jump right in and let's talk about this mind body wellness. So I want to start with you first, Lyte. We know that the hip hop industry can be tough on anyone's body, right? From all the stress, the unhealthy eating habits, busy schedules, jumping on and off planes, and so much more. At what age in your career, Lyte, did you really start paying attention to your physical health, right? Or even your mental health as a woman in hip hop?
Oh goodness. I think I understood it much earlier than people would think. It actually was the beginning of me wanting to move to Los Angeles for a seasonal change. And I believe that I had a seasonal disorder, which I don't think many people in New York call it that, but all along the East Coast, as well as Detroit, Ohio, all of Michigan, Ohio, all of these places that endure this cold weather and dark days and
Yeah.
sun going down earlier and cold. And I know for one thing, it changed my posture to live in New York because it's so cold when you begin
Yeah.
to have a little hunch. You walk with a pace that is truly unnatural. There's no way that you could ever be relaxed the way that New
You
York
know, I
City.
never thought about that, but you're right.
Yeah, for sure. So that was one thing that hit me very early, probably in the early 90s,
Hmm.
visiting Los Angeles and seeing how warm it was. I was like, oh my God, I will never do another winter in New York City. And I think the other thing was when I made the decision to come here uh, one winter. It was 10 feet of snow in New York City, and I decided that I was going to stay in Los Angeles. And I stayed for 4 months. And when I went back, while I'm walking the New York City streets, I decided to have a slice of pizza. I thought I was going to die.
Oh
But
no.
what it showed me was that was the feeling that I always had in New York. My stomach was always jacked, but I didn't even know. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was something to get rid of until I came to LA and I had no pizza for 4 months. I didn't have any cheese. I probably had bread, but I don't know. So that is when I began to know that eating healthy, staying away from things that made me feel less than optimum. And
Hmm.
then also the weather. I knew that that had a play on my mental health, my emotional health, and my physical well being.
Thank you, Light. I'll ask you the same question, Yo-Yo.
I believe I started recognizing how important my health was. I think when
Hmm.
about my early 30s, I started really wanting to just change my life in general, thinking on a broad scale in life general. And health was one of them. Before, it just seemed like everyone wanted everything from me. It was the first time that I started wanting something for myself, wanting to, pay a gym membership and attend it. And realizing, I think it was probably the first time I really understood that I was standing on my own. So I didn't need someone to go to the gym with me. I didn't need a partner. It was something I was looking forward to doing for myself. So, that's when I really started to change. I knew that I was getting up, going to the gym, whether I had a partner or a trainer. I knew I was going to go walking. So I saw the change of taking vitamins and, just changing my diet. I saw the change in my mindset, the more water I drank or the different types of water I was, putting in my body, just what I was putting in. I could feel the change. And so I really started focusing and really paying attention when something was wrong. I knew I was dehydrated. Um, when my eyes were real red, I would say, oh, maybe my iron might be low. Did I take my vitamins? So, I just started really
I
checking my
love
own
that. And
self.
I'll say, I was in the industry on the opposite side, right? You all being recording artists and me being a record executive. And it took forever for me to really pay attention to my health and wellness. I thank God I was healthy and I hadn't, had the chance to deal with anything really serious, but I wasn't sleeping. I was on and off planes, eating crazy hours of night, not going to the gym as much as I should, and not getting the proper rest. And, I did this for well over, 20 years. And then that's when life kind of started rearing its head. And I started dealing with other things. And here I am now over 50, obviously looking at life very differently now. And I work, in a different capacity right now. But we are all, and I'm pretty sure I'm accurately saying that, all over 50 now, right? And you both look fabulous. Probably, I think, not that you never didn't look good, but you look so good now. And I was just telling Light Yo-Yo before you got on, like her skin is flawless, and you look like you're at peace. And so we all know what they say, black don't crack. And it's, I mean, we, and all, all jokes aside, though, we look amazing. So Light, I'll start with you first again. What is your secret now? Like all that you have been taught, all that you've learned about yourself, and what do you do to prioritize your health at this point? And what is kind of somebody like your daily regimen and that sort of thing look like?
Well, I do try to go to bed early. It doesn't always work out, but that's my goal, so I can get up early. and do
Mm-hmm.
things. I find that, I always used to laugh when my grandfather, my pop would wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning ready to do something. And most older people in their 60s and 70s, they wake up really early. And that always was a shocker to me. But now I understand it as I get older. The earlier I wake up, I feel like I've got like, 2 days in one, because I'm getting things done before 12, what most people need a full day to do. And so I'm glad that I've got a lot of respect for sleep. Sleep is really important. I say 6 hours or better. I think 6 hours is great for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that get away with 4 and feel great, look great, and keep on stepping, but that's not my situation. I can get aggy and frustrated, and my eating isn't the best when I haven't had the good sleep. So that's one thing, and then a lot of water, and to, quite frankly, it's the level of stress. If you can keep that at bay, that's great. I've tried things. I tried Botox one time, and I have ptosis, which means my muscles in my eyes are already kind of weak.
Mm-hmm.
And some people may look at people and go, "Oh, she got bedroom eyes or whatever." But the older you get, the lower they become. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had Botox, and my eye completely shut on me.
Oh no.
So yeah, so there are things that people can do, and they do, to help them along. But my experience is to just be as stress free as possible, get the right amount of sleep, and as Yo-Yo talked about, and my dear sister, water. Know when you're dehydrated. If a thought isn't coming to you quick enough, you could be dehydrated. If your body feels a little stiff, you can be dehydrated. It's so many things that dehydration can be the cause of. So I just think it's being in tune, slowing down enough to be in tune with
Mm-hmm.
your own body. Mhm.
I love that. Yo-Yo, what do you do now to look so great? Again, I just saw you a couple months back in LA in person, and y'all, she looks just as good as she does in person as she does on the camera. I mean, y'all are aging backwards.
Well, thank you so much. You know what? I
Mm.
surrendered to God.
Mm,
I
amen.
surrendered. And with that surrendering came me living within my truth. I had to do some self evaluating on myself. Like my bestie Light said, it was, you know, listening to your body, wanting to do better, wanting to live a different kind of life, wanting to be stress free. But I realized I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help anybody else until I was able to help myself. And that took a journey, and I couldn't do it on my own. So I started praying to God, asking God to help me, not just financially. I was just asking him to, I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even asking for help. But during that journey with God, that time spent isolating myself and having this walk around the globe with God solo, he worked on every area of me. And that included me being still, being in this industry from 17, being kicked out of the industry, feeling left behind, worrying about your next paycheck, being a mother of 2 children who friends know their mother is famous, was adding a lot of stress to me. And that getting real with myself and having that conversation with God
Mm-hmm.
sat me down. And in that sit down came a lot mental health for myself. I didn't realize I was depressed until after I got out of it. And my daughter was coming to me saying, "Yeah, Mom, we were worried about you." And I'm like, "Worried about me?" Me, Mr. Come in the room, make
Yep.
everybody laugh, the jokester, want everybody to feel good. I said, "How did you tell? How could you tell that I was even
Mm-hmm.
in depression?" She said, "You didn't come out of your room. You were just, But during that time, praying, and I saw the peace. I knew when God had taken over my life. I knew when I had completely given my life to him because I was at peace. And it wasn't about the things I was praying about. It wasn't financial, because he taught me how to live with nothing. He brought my kids back to me, mentally, physically, and emotionally, with some understanding. May help me understand my mother. That piece of understanding who my mother was healed me from a young child, from a wound that I didn't even know I had. So, I mean, just my journey with Christ, girl, saved my whole life, took years off of me, took the stress off of me. And it really healed my soul. And I always prayed. Since I was a young girl, I used to always say, God, help me. With weight loss, I used to pray, God, help me, with my mind. God, please don't let me get sick. I'm in this industry where one day I have health insurance, the next day I don't. I'm praying not to get sick. So I was always praying for help.
Thank you for that and for that testimony. That was really powerful. And certainly, I can attest to the mental health challenges, but I also understand that just as women, right, we go through so much mentally, physically, right? And we have to slow down and we have to stop, and we have to be able to, allow ourselves to let, whether you believe in the universe or with us, we believe in Christ, whatever your thing is, right? You have to let people in. You have to let girlfriends in. I love that you and Light are girlfriends and that y'all support each other. That's what it's about. It's about women uplifting one another, women supporting one another. And we also, as Black women, have a lot that we struggle with just in terms of, you know, the inequities that exist in healthcare. And that's why it's important, that I feel like, God gave people like Vanessa the wherewithal, right, to sit in those, big C-suite spots, if you will, right? And to help the culture and to help the people. And so I want to bring Vanessa into the conversation. And, according to Columbia University, I was reading, this research is not new. The COVID pandemic highlighted so much, and it helped start new conversations about inequities in our healthcare system. And there are real stereotypes and implicit bias there. Vanessa, can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of Black women advocating for ourselves and supporting one another, right, as Lyte and Yo-Yo do so often, and what we can do for our health and what can be done for better outcomes for Black females in our community?
Sure. So thanks for the question, Shantae. And maybe I can first talk about advocacy a little bit, and then maybe a little bit around education and awareness. So, unfortunately, I think, the literature, and you can read it in the news a lot these days. When you look at maternal health in particular, women of color faced higher rates of maternal mortality as well as morbidity. And advocacy can really help in this space. I know I have my own story here of challenges that I had during childbirth, and advocacy can really help women of color receive appropriate prenatal care, have a safe delivery, have postpartum support, and really start to address some of the alarming statistics that we have in the space. I think both Lyte and Yo-Yo addressed mental health, which is also a really large challenge in the community. And a mental health stigma can definitely disproportionately impact women of color. So advocacy and talking about these areas like we're doing today very much helps to break down the barriers. It really promotes open discussions about mental well-being and encourages others to share their stories as well as seek help. And then, I think one of the reasons that health insurance and healthcare is so important is that as we age, and you're right, unfortunately, Shantae, I think we are all over 50, conditions like hypertension, diabetes, obesity become more prevalent and also affect women of color. And advocating for really preventative measures, really taking care of yourself, eating well, exercising, many of the things that we were talking about today can help in those areas. And then, what's really important, and one of the areas that I am particularly interested in, is culturally competent care. We know that when people of color are treated by people of color in the healthcare community, better outcomes persist in those situations, especially in maternal medicine. And arguing for culturally competent care and making sure that people can receive this is really, really critical to ensure that there's a trusting environment between women and their healthcare provider. Because if you go into the doctor's office and don't talk about what's wrong with you or don't want to say that thing, then you might not be getting that care that you need. And then, the second part around better outcomes really comes down to education and awareness and talking about health issues, empowering women to seek care, getting those regular checkups, right? So it's one thing to take care of yourself, it's another to go in for your annual exams, get that mammogram, go in and make sure that you're doing okay and get that comprehensive care. And then really, if something is maybe not right, don't be afraid to speak up, and don't be afraid to seek a second opinion. So if you get a diagnosis, really make sure that you are in a space and you feel confident in advocating for yourself. So that's just a few of the things that I would add to the conversation. And I'll just share, Shanti, I had my own story. My first daughter was born almost a week late, 6 days overdue. I went to the hospital and it was late on a weeknight, and they basically tried to tell me that I wasn't in labor, even though I was actively having contractions. I'm telling you, almost tried to send me home. I actually asked to, make sure I was checked over, etc. Turns out when they put the monitors on, not only was I in active labor, but the baby was in fetal distress. And luckily for me and my daughter, although she was born and she had to be fully resuscitated, cardio compressions, medications, etc. She is now, a sophomore in college, thank God. But it's because of these things. And I just think about, what if I went home? What if I didn't advocate for myself? What if I really wasn't like, hey, something's not right. I'm 6 days over. This can't be right. If women don't have and don't feel the empowerment to do that, that's where, I really worry. And I worry about this for women of color, and I worry about the socioeconomics. Hey, I was a general manager at a different company back then. I had a great job. I knew about healthcare, all of these things. But when I walked in the door, I was a Black woman.
There you go.
Your title doesn't come with you. Whether or not you're a major recording star doesn't come with you, And it's so important for us to continue to champion those voices for other women when they walk in that door.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vanessa. You made some great points. One, let me just say I'm glad your daughter's okay and that she's healthy and lived, right, and is thriving. And two things I want to just touch on really quick, and I'm going to go back to you, Lyte. You talked about culturally competent care. And for me, from a mental health perspective, and it's no secret, everyone knows, or a lot of people know, I went through a lot of mental health challenges, and it took me a while to find the right therapist. And, I've had white women therapists, white male therapists, and they were cool, but they still, I felt like, didn't really understand me and didn't get me. And now I feel like I have the best therapist. She is a African-American female from the South Side in Atlanta, and she just gets me. And I feel like I'm not being judged. And sometimes we can talk as girlfriends, or, I trust her advice as a therapist and as a clinician, but just the fact that she understands the culture and me has made a world of a difference. And this is probably the longest I've been consistent with a therapist. So I'm really proud of that. So I'll just say, it doesn't mean someone that doesn't look like you can't treat you and can't help you. I'm not saying that, but it is a nice place of peace that you can come to when you really feel like, right, Yo-Yo, that somebody understands you and what you've been through. And then the last thing is, I was in the hospital 2 years ago. I was really, really sick. I didn't know what was wrong. I took myself to the ER, and it was, white nurses and white doctors, and some of them were great, but some of them were not so great, going back to having to advocate for yourself, Vanessa, like you were talking about. And I was like, look, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm sick. Like, my body has never felt like this. And they let me go and gave me a prescription, and I was back at the hospital the next day. I was like, I was trying to tell y'all how sick I was. I almost passed out, and I ended up having, gallbladder disease. And some people, get their gallbladder out all the time, but if you let it get too far along, it could become deadly. And so mine had progressed. And, once they told me I needed surgery, I politely checked myself out and took myself to another hospital, because I did not want them caring for me after that. But I was alone. I was by myself. And again, if I hadn't advocated for myself, I don't know what would have happened that day. So it is a lot that you have to go through as people of color, especially as Black folks and Black women on top of that. Right? It's just so much pressure that's always put on us. I don't know if you all had any experiences about that. If not, I can go on to the next question. But it really does matter who you see.
Right. You know what? I don't have much to say about that except to just echo the sentiment of women speaking up for themselves, and not just women, all people of color at this
Right.
point. But also why it is so important that we push our young folks into STEM,
Hmm.
research, and
Yes.
possibly build upon the next legacy of doctors, of medical doctors, that are of color and that can properly handle us and care for us and care about the outcomes.
Absolutely. Amen. And so I'm going to go to you next because I know you're doing so much in terms of education right now. Like, I'm going to read this little Google blurb first. Research shows that financial worries can have negative effects on our mental and physical health, right? From sleeping problems to anxiety to migraines and even heart complications. And financial stress has also been linked to a variety of other health problems. So, Light, can you talk to us about the important work that you and your foundation, Hip Hop Sisters, have been doing around financial wellness, health and wellness, and so much more? I'm so proud of you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. When Dr. Lynn Richardson and I started working together, it was first off under the guise of giving is, better than getting. And she actually comes from Russell Simmons' world, where she was a COO of one of the foundations there, HSAN. So when we met, we decided we were going to do something extra special, and um, we both had different cornerstones in mind for the foundation. Mine was dealing with young people and furthering their education, and hers was dealing with women and financial education. And so, bringing those two together, we have been able to accomplish, so much. She has taught thousands of women financial literacy and been able to empower them. We have an annual event called the Wealth Experience, which wealth is an acronym. I'm sorry, I'm thinking woman, wealth, womanhood, expansion, assets, leadership, transformation, and health. And with that, we address um, mental health. We address physical health in terms of your body and what it is that you need to do to be strong, whether that is the intake of food as well as exercise. And then also, one of our main components is education. So the signature initiative that we have is called hashtag Educate Our Men, although we have sent women to school as well, with a partnership at Wisconsin Madison, and then a partnership at a HBCU, which is Dillard University. And so we've been able to give over $1 million away to young people furthering their education, which I certainly love to tout. I couldn't do it without Dr. Lynn and Dr. Felicia Shaw, who are the co founders. But I think for me, you know, going to public school and then having an opportunity to attend a private school, Weusi Shule, which is, black school in English, seeing the levels of education and the disparity between the two, I felt like when you are educated, four walls bust wide open, and you feel like you are worldwide and you can do anything, just the belief in yourself and the confidence. And that's why, to me, the educational component to Hip Hop Sisters Foundation was the most important for me. Mhm.
Well, thank you for the work. Thank you to Lynn, Dr. Lynn, and
Yeah.
Dr. Felicia. You guys are really you, and I'll say we interviewed also on one of our earlier episodes, Dougie Fresh
Mhm.
and his co-founder, Dr. Williams. And I will say that you two are truly leading the way, and you've paved the way for hip hop artists and philanthropy, and especially from a health perspective. So I just thank you, and I hope that the Mebo Show could do some things to partner with you all, because certainly our goals are aligned in terms of what we're trying to do for our community. So again, thank you so much for that, Light.
Well, you know what I'd like to add is there are so many hip hop artists that give back. You know, like everybody from Ti to 50 to Queen Latifah to Will Smith to LL to Simone Smith with what she does with Cancer Society. I mean, there's so many, and also, you know, Yo-Yo here. Yo-Yo gives of her time to teach the children. It's one thing to go and collect the money from the
Mm,
corporations and then be the mediator and give it to the people who need it. But there's another thing to be in the trenches with the kids on a daily basis, and that is Yo-Yo. So I got to give it up to Yo-Yo.
absolutely. Yes, Yo-Yo, we're so proud of you. And I just I was gonna go to you next and talk to you about all that you've been doing, Yo-Yo, and you've been so vocal, one from the beginning, just even around women's empowerment. That was, you know, the I think the overarching theme, right, for you as a female rapper back then, stepping into a male dominated industry.
IBWC. Yes.
Yes. And so all that you do now with teaching these young people around health and wellness and everything about your journey, talk to us about what you've been able to do over the years of pouring into so many young people.
Oh, oh God, I've been able to get back a piece of myself, a piece of my childhood by, and I've added years to my life by going into the community, given what I've always wanted, and that was love. And through my love, I've been able to connect with young artists on every spectrum, whether they wanted to. I partnered with the my company, Yo-Yo School of Hip Hop, is partnered with the National College Resource Foundation. I am also a part of Hip Hop Sisters movement with Light and Lynn, and everything that she does, they
Yes.
can always
Yes.
at me
Yes.
on. I'm always there. Um, However, I work with the National College Resource Foundation. I give away $1,000 in 20 cities each year for the past 11 years to someone who has the passion of furthering their education in music. The IBWC, I still work with young girls. Light, of course, was with me when I started the Yo-Yo School of Hip Hop. She came out and was, in the trenches, 79th in Vermont, and deep in the hood, and would sit and watch us build this. But I mean, it's so important to me because, like I said, when I started asking God to change me, I mean, community service has always been something that I wanted to do because it's something that helped
Mhm.
me as a young girl. I participated in youth programs. I went away to camp with the program. I sold candy for a program. My mother was involved in community activities while we were growing up. And I understood the importance of it when I realized how powerful hip hop was and that music mattered, hip hop mattered, and that I had a voice. I wanted to do more instantly. It was just like an open gate. I saw bigger than myself. It was almost as if I wanted to take myself out of hip hop and use my fame for my community. And going into that community, the first 10 years I started so early, and just to have them young kids hug me and to grow up and remember me, and, to show me fearless tattooed here. Remember, you told me don't give up. I never got up. They want me to see their accolades. Kids hit me saying I graduated. Thank you for the scholarship. And kids have record deals now that I've worked with from Detroit. I mean, that right there, it's almost like God was saying, and you were asking me for love. Like, doesn't it? Now, how good is that love? You know, um, and that's the difference. I'm telling you, my relationship with God has really grown me as a woman, a businesswoman, a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a friend. I mean, just the whole spectrum of growth. Um, the give back, it just came so natural. I get it from my mother. My mother raised foster children. She worked with the mentally disabled she retired with the mentally disabled. So I'm so used to feeling the energy without them being able to express it. Um, and so it just, and I do it. I mean, I do it for the love, but in return, I have gotten double for what some might call trouble, but it's not, it's never been trouble. It's the love, and God has opened up the door. You know, before it didn't require anything. Now we have sponsorships, partnerships, and relationships that help us complete the task.
Thank you, sister, for everything that you're doing. And I love that you're touching these kids' lives from so many different aspects. And whether they're going on to college or working in music or entertainment or just empowering them. And I just want to, again, just, I don't get to see you ladies but a couple times a year. Of course, I follow you and what you're doing. And Light, I used to see you more when you lived in Atlanta. But every time I see y'all, though, the love and kindness that you give to me doesn't go unnoticed. I mean, we know how this industry can be, but just for someone that I've looked up to for so long, but you always return the love. No, again, like I know before you recorded this, you had so much going on and how tired you were, but you persevere and you push through and you give back so much of yourselves. And I just only hope that I can continue to follow in your footsteps from a philanthropic perspective, and I love pouring into young people, and I don't want anything in return. Like you said, when they graduate, that warms my heart. Like God sees what you both are doing and will continue to bless you. And just shout out to the other female pioneers in hip hop, like you mentioned, like, Queen Latifah and LL Cool J's wife Simone, and shout out to Roxanne Shante and all
Great.
of you all who came before us in this genre. And it was tough as a female record executive, but having songs like Ladies First and looking up to you all and UNITY from Latifah, like it made me feel like I could keep going. I wrote my own book about my career in 2010, being a woman in hip hop, and it was because of you all and the example that you set and the tone that you set, that no matter what the was going on from a misogynist perspective, or the condescending comments from my male counterparts working in the industry, it was the MC Lights, it was the Yo-Yos that gave me the courage and strength as a young woman coming up in hip hop, whether it was around my health, whether it was around how I carried myself in the room, right, to make sure that respect was being exuded. So I just had to give y'all your flowers now because it's so necessary. I believe in uplifting women. I'm wearing June Ambrose's shirt now. Shout out to, the incredible, stylist and fashion icon, June Ambrose. I just believe in supporting other women. And I'm just so grateful. And Vanessa, all that you're doing from a corporate perspective and helping to set the tone and what we do to support other women. That'll take me into my next question to you. So, as professional women, whether we are in music or entertainment or healthcare, we understand that, the toll that juggling multiple roles can have on our mental and physical health can be so much, right? So we as mothers and sisters and, well, aunties for me, friends, leaders, and partners, it's a lot because we try to do it all. So Vanessa, can you share a little bit more about your approach to work-life balance and your leadership role at J&J, and what advice would you give to other women, who are in similar positions?
Sure. So thanks for the question. Before I do that, can I just say, Shante, you said something very important when you were
Sure.
throwing flowers. And I just want to say the inspiration that of people like yourself, like Light, like Yo-Yo, doesn't just extend to the music industry and rap artists, because I was also a young Black girl growing up and I saw y'all, right? And I might have gone, I have no rapping skills, but I went into business, but the music resonated with me as well. And it was so inspiring to see Black women out there doing what you guys do when I was younger. And I just wanted to say thank you for that. So you certainly inspire people in the music industry, but you really are inspirational and have a far broader appeal, which will bring me to my point, which is, listen, when we're talking about taking care of your health and taking care of yourself and how you manage work-life balance, I think it's important to set boundaries and priorities. I have two girls and a husband and two crazy dogs and a complicated work schedule, but it's your community. It's who you have around you. It may be your family. It may be your church. It may be your club. It may be, whatever it is for you, you need a support structure. And then you need to prioritize your health, right? So you need to get those checkups. You need to take care of yourself. If something's bothering you, you need to pay attention. I know that we created something called My Health Can't Wait, because we saw so many people, especially people of color during the pandemic, really putting off their healthcare because they're the moms, they're the sisters, they're the aunties, they're the people who are taking care of others. So it's so important to prioritize your own, put your own safety mask on before you put it on everybody else. Lastly, I'll just say that it is so important to continue the conversation that we're having today, to see people be vulnerable, to have people tell their own stories, to have people understand where they can seek support and care. So I just want to also say thank you for doing this, and it's amazing to see such incredible women and how they're managing their own health and well-being.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yes, love it all the way around. Thank you, Vanessa. So we only have a couple more questions, ladies, and I know you have so much going on, but we certainly at the Mibo Show appreciate your time more than you can imagine. So it's something that I'm going through right now, and we don't talk about enough as women. It's the M word, menopause. I have been in menopause for about a year or year and a half now, and it's been a journey. And it's crazy because I don't have my mom and my sister to ask now, because of course, I think some things are genetic and the way we deal with things. Yo-Yo or Lyte, have either one of you had the, I guess, I don't know, have you had to deal with any signs or symptoms of it, like hot flashes, or if do you have any hacks you can share with the listeners?
Well, first off, I think I was premenopause. And now I feel like I'm on the other side of it. I don't know, if hot flashes will come back or whatever, but I will say my hot flashes, I think, had a lot to do with a particular coffee that I was drinking. Because whenever I would leave home, I wouldn't have them. And then when I would come back, I would have them. And then somehow I equated it to, okay, what am I doing when I'm home? And I was having this really strong coffee, and I omitted it, and the hot flashes subsided. So I
Oh,
do
good for
think it
you.
has a lot to do with diet, although I am not a doctor. I'm sure there are other components, but
Mhm.
for me, it very much has everything to do with my diet.
Well, I am 52 as well, and I certainly am. I have a lot of hot flashes and night sweats, and the brain fog is there. So, what I would say to the listeners is, consult with your doctor, whether that's your PCP, right, your OBGYN. Some people want to talk to herbalists, whatever works for you. We try to give information on the Meebo Show, but we always make sure that we encourage you to talk to your own doctors and physicians before you make any changes to your lifestyle. But certainly, I think it's something that so many of us go through as women, and we don't talk about enough. So just thank you for indulging me in that little brief conversation about menopause, because it is consuming me at this point in my life, which is why I'm just so adamant about making sure that I'm going to the doctor and getting my checkups like Vanessa told me to do. Make sure I go to the doctor. That is so important. So last question for you ladies, and I'll start with you, Lyte. What is your call to action for those in the hip hop community and in BIPOC communities around wellness for women? Like, and what would you say to like the young generation of women that are coming up in hip hop right now?
Oh goodness. Well, I'll answer that in one sweep altogether. Is
Okay.
it is time for us to gain understanding that our food industry is all about making money.
Mm.
And if that is the case, you will now have to be extremely intentional about giving yourself the good food that one needs. And that may mean, growing your own vegetables. I know it sounds hard, it sounds difficult, like it takes a lot of time, but there are now ways in which you can grow your vegetables in your home. So I would just tell them to take care, because you get one body. And there are people that I know that wish they would have turned their lives around much quicker. There are
Mhm.
also people that I know that have been, categorized as terminally ill, changed their diet, and all of it was reversed. So everything is food and rest. Food, rest, exercise, doing what you need to do to get that oxygen moving throughout the body. Some of it is genetic, yes, but other times is what we do to ourselves on a day to day that will determine how well we are able to live as we get older.
Gotta lead with love, right? I want this young generation to one, do everything that you Light said and what you said, Yo-Yo. Take care of yourselves, find the peace, understand conflict resolution, because every issue ain't a huge issue that's got to
Right.
be taken out on social media.
That you
If
have
you
to
got a you
not,
got a problem with another sister, pick up that phone and call her. Don't post it on IG. Pick
yeah.
up the phone. And if you got some advice around health and wellness, share it, right? Pick up the phone and call each other. Let's love on each other a little bit more. Vanessa, what is your call to action for BIPOC communities and for our hip hop community?
So I think, first of all, advocate for yourself and others. If you think something's wrong, if you think you need a second opinion, if you think you have been, there's something that's not right, please seek a second opinion. I would say empower others. I loved what Light said about, more people of color in STEM. I would love to see that. More STEM, more business. We got to change the entire environment through a multifactorial approach. And a lot of good points have been made today. And encourage others. I think having conversations like this where people are open and honest about their own, situations, about how they address these situations for themselves, with their family, are important conversations to have, and continue to empower and encourage and support others.
Thank you, Vanessa. And so I've asked Vanessa this question before, but I have to ask Lyte and Yo-Yo, in honor of hip hop turning 50 and for you all being the pioneers that you are. Lyte, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
I fell in love with hip hop in when I heard Eric B for president. When I heard Rakim, I knew there was it was two levels. I fell in love when I heard Melly Mel with the message, but I didn't think I could do it. I just was listening to it. But when I heard Rakim and then Salt and Pepper, I was like, okay, I'm all in.
I love it. And you know what? Your voice, you have one of the most special voices in hip hop. And I'm not saying male or female. You have one of the when I say God has blessed you with the gift of voice. I mean, protect this woman's voice, y'all, at every level. I hope you have a $10 million insurance policy on that voice because it deserves it.
Thank you so much. There's I would love to take a whole lot of credit for it, but it just is my voice.
It is. I know.
I didn't get to work on it. When
well, I salute your parents.
Then I go, yeah, I worked on that. But my voice, it is. But
listen, that voice started in hip hop. It's taking you to the BET Awards. Yeah, it's taking you to the Oscars. Come on, that voice is taking you around the world, baby.
Yes, I'm very grateful for it. But it just is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
it. Yeah. Okay, good.
It's just a blessing. I get it. It's just a blessing.
Yes.
And we just gonna love on that blessing. Yo-Yo, you are such a light and just. Woo! Again, we all love you. The peace and the joy that you exude is only an anointing from God. And I just salute you, Queen. I love you. I appreciate you. You're always somebody that gives off great energy. It's so infectious. And I still got to know, though, because, you had to fall in love when did you fall in love with hip hop?
Oh, goodness. I fell in love listening to Houdini's whole album.
Hey,
how many
funky
of
beat,
us have them?
Funky beat, funky beat.
Hey, funky beat, hey, funky beat. Said the freaks come out, the freaks come out, the freaks come out at night. I mean, I've been in love with hip hop. I was loving Lyte when Lyte was doing her song Georgie Porgy, loving Salt and Pepper, loving Roxanne Shante. I mean, just loving Sequence, loving Tina Marie when Tina Marie was rapping, loving Cameo when he was doing his It's Strange, and I like it. I like the way she walk. I like the way she do it. So just music in general.
Me too. I keep saying hip hop is that gift that keeps on giving. It has opened so many doors for me, and it was an honor to be a young girl out there doing street promotions and marketing and starting in the clubs and hip hop. It has really shaped me to be the person that I am today. So we salute you, hip hop. We say happy 50th birthday, hip hop.
Yes.
Happy 50th. Thank you to our incredible guests, the incomparable MC Lyte, the amazing Yo-Yo, and the awesome Vanessa Broadhurst from Johnson & Johnson. Y'all are just blessings, and I appreciate you all. We appreciate you for being on the Mibo Show. We ask that, again, before you decide to make any changes to your lifestyle, that you consult with your doctor or your own physician, right? And make sure that you're finding the care that you need right there in your hometown. But we appreciate you. Tell your friends about the Mibo Show. Listen, rate, subscribe, and just make sure you take care of your mind and your body. We appreciate you.